Hello, species value exorcism is about serious things. I put the link for the body dumping parts. These are the sources of CNN and Fox News, for example, involved with World Trade Center attack, predicate acts, and plotting through other natures of plots leading up to it in that context and since. As people involved also with remote uses of Connecticut's Capitol building and the buildings next to it under the guise of security. These are people with remote uses of elections locations and the differences of parties, black pupils. We have the same color eyes, different color eyes at the same time. But this has not been addressed with the black white, has been blamed on other things, others themselves, than the breaching method, which is a scientific value. For example, there's a human fact treatment nature breaching method that is discernible when we hear language regarding what history is about, but we also hear simultaneously other things, others ourselves, blamed for the breaching method than what our founders communicated for us to blame it on. They communicated for us to explain how they did not have free speech and they had to pretend other because that's what the breaching method, which was a torture, extortion, slavery method, three ways manifest. So, Ron Adams, can we get back to your roles with the Wethersfield police, who are in ongoing confessions with the principal child offender, who they forced at first. I caught them with more worse, and they still have more upskirt pictures on Twitter with the FBI, former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, and cyber police, and people involved with home break-ins through time relative, with Wethersfield Police, Rock Hill Police Department, people with Sandy Hook intelligence. On off Central Connecticut State University and Trinity College, there were ongoing confessions with this too. They attached me to fake conversations with themselves. When I was a kid, I wasn't at all. They influenced people involved with the intelligence community named Walters and his neighbors. His neighbor's name is Lombardo, involved with people with wire crimes on my street, per the confessions of Wethersfield Police, but they're switching names and forging names. And the roles with confessions intercities from other people too involved with this. They've been planting evidences on next to the campuses intercities. Their roles with remote uses of the differences of the police types. It's not just the FBI. FBI Director Robert Luskin and his defendant capacities and his co-defendants. You're lying again, Ron Adams. You have roles with prosecutors and judges and police. They need to get on paper. They have wire crimes with the news too, where they fake transcripts over the phone and fake emails. Cyber police are also involved at corners of streets in Wethersfield, corner and town lines, corner of the street at Town Line Drive in Southside Highway, and corner of the street of Main Street in Old Wethersfield and Church Street in Old Wethersfield are people who have been planting evidences on and off campuses with foreign and domestic families, overt criminal enterprises, private ones. These are medical families too, fake conversations at medical locations because they're tactically delusions raw, communicating other for Madison right through our schools and for the agreement he had with George Washington, communicating other for George Washington. So Ron Adams, you recorded involved with people, officers switching names with the officer McGee. They confessed to me and others. They have more. They have only one officer named McGee, but on 3 different police reports, on 3 different arrest instances where they fabricated. They put a police charge with no writing because they're fake. Now these are people who attached Saudis to forced roles with them. Whiting forensics before I was born when I was a little kid. when I was a young man, and since they and increasingly have roles on our body dumping spots with the people involved right now with wire crimes with the Wethersfield police. They need to get on paper because there's more guns and knives and poisons involved, and people tied to mayors. Something to do with an Eric Jensen and the state police and intelligence community involved with mayors on our parks, planting evidences with people all along Hangdog Lane, Two Highway, with people on off the state judicial branch offices, all sides of criminal and civil cases, news at the same time. Foreign countries overt criminal enterprise putting fake things in databases together. Now that was leading up to the World Trade Center attack in it and since. So, Ron Adams, do you know any child offenders? You have news people also. So I'm not a relations journalist. And these are CNN sources involved with Ron Adams. For example, they're using him for cover-ups. I'm not a licensed journalist. Licensed journalists are recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, involved self-value with a hear no evil, see no evil, so to speak. Wire crime acts and methods with the people, with the police forms, and the people who work for them, and where it's relative, where they fabricate audio and video transcripts for readings of statutes. CNN did good reporting on where it gives them the right to lie, but see, they left out exceptions. And see, this forced horse trick persuaded the media to use the value of evidence or the value of what, the word evidence, data. Ron Adams was trying to frame me for a long time to be a doctor. He has people that repeat their, in other words. So there were also, Ron Adams, there's people with the name Collusion that Wethersfield police have and the name Sullivan. They didn't give the last name. There's also a Daryl Sullivan who's involved with two different people, Maggie's with the name Maggie. And the difference of that and Magdalena, who's involved with spots around the former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, has a lawyer named Robert Chevrolet, and his co-defendants and their neighbors are also involved with these people, with the child offenders and the World Trade Center attack and the Ninth Circuit Court next to it. They postdated documents from inside the Ninth Circuit Court. See, these are prosecutors and judges involved with uses of their all investigations, investigators, their campuses, encounters to them too, the black pupils. That's why and how the differences between how the police thought is tactically delusions wrought and the people who counter them is because that difference is exploited by them every day, where they're putting fake things in databases. That's why they have Ron Adams trying to make things look debatable that are not. Hide what leaves comes out first. The courts are used to their members individually grouped and together. They're used to measure and maintain that they can't defend with their influence to, and then afford the right not to use everything that comes before them or the people they know to cover up lie progressions that are also used again back further at other locations /S. Has something to do with their roles with the different types of police forms, Secret Service, FBI, CIA, the news media too. When they show us the FBI, where they pick one agency, and I'm not a police form, I'm none of them. But see, George Washington and James Madison had an agreement, and they communicated for us to communicate about that agreement and about the extortion of George Washington, honestly, and to show where there is insanity regarding this, black pupils, in other words. So we have also the name Ray Collo is also involved with a Phil Collo. A Phil Collo is involved with writing forensics also through time. People involved with identity theft, fraud, slanders, and people that never had classes, never saw him on the inside of a campus in my life. He's has involved roles with predicate acts with facts, with overt criminal enterprises and private ones, There are people with the name Riley involved with the intelligence community at New York City, Orlando, Florida, Miami, Connecticut, interstates, Massachusetts State Police, Rhode Island State Police, people planting evidences on off campuses with the medical community, whole fake transcripts years later categorically too. In other words, these are people putting fake transcripts of people involved with federal crimes they have roles with, not legitimately as unmarked police forms. Whole bunch of people with the name Leahy are medical doctors in their family who are criminally foreign influence, have fake conversations with people, planting evidences next to the schools too. Drugs and medicines, crimes with kids, while tactically delusions wrought too. Like this John Adams they have playing games with cyber police also involved. So these are CNN's and Fox News' sources. WFSB has World Trade Center predicate acts. They faked conversations with me. They have roles with WTNH at the corner of Main Street and Church Street in Old Wethersfield, with a number of people recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, increasingly involved with wire crimes and mail crimes of their various natures through time. Imposition attacks on businesses. This is how they keep the security valued where it's not valued. They keep in the nature of debate, where they get away with what's not even debatable. And descriptions of behavior relative to this. You have behavior racketeering, you have tactically delusions rocket. You guys left your schools criminally foreign influence. They do tricks like taking a picture around someone at a party, and then they pretend they were there. They have it set up to take a picture. They're planting evidences and making confessions this way too, where that is vertically and horizontally, where they've been leaking, where they have people pretending to be against that. See how they talk about crowd control and things like that. In other words, people from my town lied about themselves and all others since they were kids. When people aren't around them, and in other words, but categorically, because the intelligence community, which is former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, overt criminal enterprises, private ones, unions as criminal insidiousness. The difference of that at corners of buildings and streets, making faked instances where they have remotely used descriptions of instances and of names, where and how that's one of the things, where names on all sides of criminal and civil cases. The news at the same time, the interbranch switching names, putting sequence shifts. These are people in the Ninth Circuit Court next to the World Trade Center towers, right before the attack, leading up to it long term and short term, who and the spots next to that. Now, as the World Trade Center too. Uh, uh, in other words, they try to make it look like who's invited or what like that. They're making it have. They want to have a nature of debate, but they can't afford to get on paper with people. This is three uses of the word class by a breaching method. So we're going to examine. It's recorded that the breaching method showed licensed journalists and police forms how they already use words like evidences, where they can't defend that and afford to have they did it as a dishonestly, as rules of predicate acts with facts, as rules with styles pretending to be about the Constitution, when you can't be about the Constitution unless you have treated honestly. When someone says, even if you don't know about it, George Washington said we were supposed to treat his extortion, and he communicated the torture of himself and the fact, cheap nature, slavery of himself with James Madison's agreement, and the difference between James Madison as a founder and as a president. So Ron Adams also brought up bowling. There are people at a bowling center a whole bunch of people with a Bolorama in another place in Berlin. There's a on the Berlin Turnpike has something to do with the intelligence community involved with the family members of probate court judges, with people involved with their family members and extended family members slandering people, putting fake evidences and roles with all kinds of natures of distinct natures of organized crime relative, and as people speaking about crimes, as people involved with Central Connecticut State University, where they have criminal justice, I believe as a major for people. And this, in other words, we have reading of statutes that can't defend and afford to discern the hyper evidential black pupil. So Ron Adams is one of the names involved with the other ones. There's a Joshua Julian also recorded involved with a proven principal, upskirt nature. I caught with worse things, also with this Joshua Julian. See, but they're hiding that. And he also had roles quoting journalists and journalism from the past and people involved with whiting forensics. And the house and there are houses near me that also recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed roles with conversations with him and people tied to him with this, with various natures of predicate acts, federal evidences, crimes, wire crimes with Wethersfield Police, state police, whiting forensics has state police there in Connecticut. Their roles with like courts, they make charges on people like harassment if they call a school, when they catch them with sick things. Then they put fake emails and fake calls and they arrest the person and make lies, including with some of the teachers because they have roles with this. They have roles with foreign and domestic medical families and teachers too, and medical experts on reason that are still tactically delusions raw. So they're trying to frame people and make things appear debatable. They put high bails on people for charges that with no writing. Then they bring them into prisons with the people that are running the prison, people that are working for it, and the prisoners already in collusion with the same locations names. There's a serial killer's body dumping spot in West Hartford that has roles with a whole bunch of foreign and domestic military and Hartford Healthcare and UConn, Quinnipiac University, involved with judges, prosecutors, their family members, criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions raw, CIA family members, roles with FBI and other people with their own confessions, which is a federal crime to lie about on Facebook. That's how fake they were. Being used, the forgiveness is because there was a hyper foreign that has been using you all since you're kids, blaming other things, others ourselves, for what caused things like slavery, what caused things like witch trials. These are names next to the witch trials place that are still involved with predicate acts with facts and intercampuses through time. All along Main Street in Old Wethersfield turns into and I never had anything to do with Old Town Cafe in Old Wethersfield. They sought me out to record, confess, demonstrate, confirm roles with child offenders, elderly offenders, on off people on off the veterans' homes, criminally foreign influence, all kinds of medical corruption, criminally tactically delusions raw, putting fake ties to people, fake natures of ties to people, uses of the right to lie where they don't have the right to lie. And there are mass exploitations of readings of statutes where they get away with such anyway because they're leaving out exceptions because they are confessing and demonstrating how they are individuals that have roles with Koreans, for example, people from Japan, people from Russia, people from in the other states, all involved, people from Mexico, all involved with predicate act. And they're he's saying this, that conspiracy theory. This is what our countries have been doing, right? Flew into our countries, flew into these countries that are killing each other. They have psychiatrists experts on reasons that are tactically delusions raw, readings of the Quran, readings of the Bible too, not just the sciences, the religions too. You left out right what they say are the only part that we're supposed to defend and focus on at the first parts of the Old Testament and the first part of the Quran. No one even knows about that. Everyone's fighting, everyone's sequence shifting styles, black pupils. So the FBI, CIA, and the military has roles also. They're making confessions increasingly with these people that have been typing on my comments, like a Joshua Julian, a Ray Cololo. Even if it's not them, they're recorded involved with the wire crimes with the police departments and the people I caught with the principal child offender and people with more violence and people that know my name that I don't know their names tied to my street too, and ongoing confessions also, where they're pretending not to confess and demonstrate things. So it's important to get them on paper so we can do peacefully. Because I have no problems there when they're trying to lie about the motivations between everyone. It has something to do with that corner, the businesses at the and the locations at those corners, in the roles with fire departments. There's an Inspector Mike who's involved with also with a Mike Pandolf and other people with I don't know the names of with different fire departments. One in West Hartford, one next to Trinity College, and involved with people tied to a Mayor Gold, increasingly planting evidences on off parks, identity thefts and frauds, and making fake exceptions of people knowing each other so they can pretend people are lying. As the people who use as people involved with the intelligence, where they use the right to lie, where they don't have the right to lie. As a James Comey, reportedly, a guy named James Comey is one of the people involved with Congress used clearer than day remotely. Predicate acts with facts, methods, and natures individually grouped in together as a singular body, and then grouped with the other individually grouped together with other branches of government. They have predicate acts with facts, methods, where they have predicate acts with fact, treatment, nature, method, roles, self-value, while where and how they're being used remotely. And this is one of the answers that could have prevented a lot of deaths, a lot of bad things, and could have healed how the suburbs were designed before our founders were born. And from here to Russia, they look the same. From here to Russia to Ukraine, they look the same. Because before our founders were born, a torture, extortion, slavery methods, 3 ways manifest. And I don't know the James Carone, Kevin Carone, and Mark Carone. Those exceptions have something to were just in their place. They take a picture. In other words, they have rules with the DMV people and the Department of Transportation and the Department of Motor Vehicles with people that were child abused growing up, even if it was their intelligence. And that, in other words, there's people with the name Perone and Kurt who I never saw down there in Hartford, but next to Fox Connecticut News. But there are also roles with Eric Mendez and his brother with child offenders, with the schools further, and their roles with foreign and domestic countries. And this preaching method interpreted what our founders communicated to us before our people did, because it had everyone measured and made. Our founders had the force in more than 13 colonies with slavery entrenched north and south, no overt with the color against everyone when you have it that way. In other words, where there was no unity, they had to force a unity by temporary counter extortion. And then the laws were so crazy against everyone that they had to save their lives as their 13 critical and so they had to rely on the unity presented by our founders. as James Madison, but see president slash chief. Nature itself shows us. Native Americans are also our founders. There are three natures of our founders. And that was with the face of James Madison, what made the agreement with George Washington. It was Native Americans individually grouped and together, trying to figure out how to do damage control to the breaching method. They had already taken possession of the human species volume science, names A through Z of it. It re-employed them and sustained that. And it made everyone blamed other things, others, or selves, while it was hyper-employing, hyper additional jobs, roles with its value nature system. There are proofs that one of the reasons that asparagus is one of the only perennial vegetables. It's like a grass, and it grows many years. It proves that that's because they tactically denatured everything to force everything, not just to force everything, into through our own to force it too. So in the past, and then they'll say, "Oh, it's the white people. Oh, it's that," because what we're supposed to say is it's a hyper criminally foreign influence. So all these rules with slavery, as it was still entrenched after our founders put up the announcement, get the Constitution on the bridge. In other words, get how they had to fake and entertain language that is incompatible with the Constitution on the bridge. The value of going back and forth with cases. In other words, and what cases mean. They're using that as collusions to hide the finite is increasingly changed. The order of the finite is incapable of being accessed, where we could cause evolution's fruits, gifts, means out of nowhere. But we have to get the Officer Powell with this Ron Adams and other sick people who are little fake punks, want to have little kid conversations where the subject is a principal child abuser. And a dean involved also. There's a Dean Alford involved with a Joshua Stryker, and more people at Trinity College. Had my neighbor and people tied to him with the former director of the FBI attaching me and others to fake locations and hiding what's actually recorded and with the exceptions there. They should not have hit what I caught them doing with the kids, inter-campuses and intra-campuses, and the differences of them. And because it's on off them, and it's not for the reasons they're pretending. So there are more people with the name Phil Cololo and Mendez, intercities involved with child offenders of various natures, including sexual and medical. And Whiting Forensics increasingly has roles with them with this, with prosecutors and judges who are also personally and professionally involved with people like Leahy, who attach a Leahy family, attached me to whole fake conversations with them and about legal cases. And they pretend that I thought people were watching me. I said to them or to anyone else that people were watching me through the television, which there are proofs that they could do that. Black pupils. In other words, they need to hide live progressions because they have roles of predicate acts with facts increasingly with kids at every campus I went to, where the people, they didn't even want it. It's people from off, and when they want or didn't want to have roles putting fake things in databases, it's right where they need to put fake motivations because they're hiding roles with a whole bunch of different countries. A Ray Cololo or someone pretending to be him use the word maturity, immature, as someone who, in other words, has something to do with their roles all along Route 3. A whole bunch of people recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed the Zano family too with that. And neighbors of theirs, like a Jonathan Lyon. He's involved with sequence ships of when I knew him, and the fake exception, and corner uses of corners of buildings and streets for confessions. But it's differentially the confessions of the people being used by the interbranch and differentially the interbranch. And it's simultaneously where and how foreign people are time uses of the same corners of streets and the same departments and groupings, different differences at the campuses involved. So, former director of the FBI Robert Luskin has roles with people on off Trinity College and Central Connecticut State University, who have roles intercities with Rocky Hill campuses and Wethersfield campuses, further with child offenders, and people with Whiting Forensics, Sandy Hook campuses, further has intelligence community involved with this. These are also people tied to like Tucker Carlson has roles sources that are intelligence people, and they use how they have some who are like gay and transsexual oriented, and they have some who are like criminal enterprises oriented, and they use that to hide their roles with live progressions and use of location slash s and motivations in the background. Where now it's evident, hyper evidential, that they've been using the readings of statutes criminally foreign influence and tactically delusions raw. They've been influenced to pretend the value of expertise or if someone has research or not is what it is in black pupils. We know that these courts have blamed, have value. So they didn't, a certain type of victim slash hyper victim forgiveness is so we don't leave out the breaching method. Before anyone spoke for the law, this breaching method made, measured, and maintained. Other was communicated to them in our founder's name, for our founders in their name, but not as our founders, what they communicated. They communicated for us to understand the agreement between our founders as James Madison as their face. Before him being a president, which being a president while you still have slavery entrenched because you have no means to uproot it. We're supposed to understand that clearer than day. That's not even debatable. What enables that to be debatable and gotten away with is where and how it is hyper evidential that self value. You know, is sickly distinctly every campus. In other words, when every notion behind every style that pretends they think they could defend on paper, they could track the defense of pretending science has integrity relative to how New York City is manifest. The suburbs were designed before our founders were born in Russia and America, in Ukraine. These suburbs look exactly the same. There are reports that there are reports like on Judge Napolitano's Judging Freedom YouTube channel. There are reports reportedly from Ukraine and Israel and Palestine. Excuse me. Humanity still can be killing humanity, leaving out the breaching method, even though it's hyper evidentially there. And when you examine why, you examine the things I said in my videos. People are making the identity of physics bigger than, simultaneously smaller than it is, for the way nature communicates, being what, why, and how things can be and are big and small simultaneously, because the hyper simultaneous agrees to us that identity which revealed. For example, how the species, totally distinct species, birds, fish, they have quality aspects, nature just like our own. Volume individuals of a species body of individuals. Babayaros. Don't be a babayaros. That's a swear. If it's a word in another language, please someone let me know. I didn't know. And Baba Yellow sees is the whole species body. So Hartford Hospital has roles with overt criminal enterprises per the intelligence community and per their sources, and with the names next to them, like a Joe DeMauro, a fifth grade teacher I had. He recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, has roles with wire crimes and drugs and medicines crimes, identity thefts and frauds with the DeMauro, John DeMauro, Joe DeMauro, and his neighbors, people with the name Kerr. And they have neighbors I don't even know the names of. And has someone that was a teacher on their street, and they are involved in little boys and girls. They're involved further with the principal child offender. Has something to do with they make fake exceptions. In other words, I went to had nothing to do with a party with Mike Kerr. They tried to make a fake a picture. I went there 1 second. There, in other words, and that was after I never had anything to do with them on the grammar school. See, these are people involved with a former mayor Gold. Had a Debbie Gold, and there's a Lee Gold. I never saw the Lee Gold. They were putting fake things in databases roles with overt criminal enterprises and private ones, and people on my street with the name O'Brien, as ones further involved with the confessions of people from Sandy Hook campuses. These are also people pretending others simultaneously. Sandy Hook Promises is involved with them, and the social media of Alex Jones and the court people on off the state judicial branch offices, state this on off the state corrections offices. They have rules with unmarked police forms, also with the predicate acts with fax methods of interbranch switching names and forging names and refusing to identify themselves. Wire crime acts and methods, including putting little kids to fake conversations with police forms in the police department. Kids who never went there ever when I was a little kid and spoke with them. They want to have a conversation with you about a conversation they broke up, they brought up. They have rules with a whole bunch of boyfriends, even if they're in intelligence, associated with um, men and women who next to Central Connecticut State University through time that live there at the houses. There's a Jose Gill who has roles with Wethersfield and Hartford Police, Rocky Hill Police, Cromwell Police, and FBI and other agencies in foreign and domestic military. They have roles with drugs and medicines crimes with little kids, fabricating evidences with prosecutors and judges. Has something to do with their roles with the Elm Streets in Wethersfield and Rocky Hill, and as people that have been putting fake things on and off campuses. So one of her boyfriends was from MIT. One of them was involved with UPS people. One of them, and they confirmed, well, and demonstrated to an extent me stuff about that, because this is before and after the World Trade Center attack. People next to the campuses have roles with our leaders with that, but where and how they are used remotely. See, they have their help blames things on them where they were directed to blame on other things, but they can't do that because they don't have possession of their name, and they pretend other because they have a title. That's why you have to understand we have to have the re-education of humanity, because other modern countries also have their founders lied about, and that's self-valued by the same people pretending to be patriot natures for those countries. This preaching method knew that we would have to use phrases like criminally foreign influenced and tactically delusions raw. This preaching method, and so it employed the people that are supposed to interpret things like delusions, tactically delusions raw, and criminally foreign influence. So, Judge Napolitano, please follow mandated law. Enough time has passed, and you guys are fishing for more ways to plant instances and lie about people because you guys are caught with behavior racketeering worse than war crime. Because you don't follow mandated law when you're caught too. Caught with tactical delusions too with these people. Ron brought of bowling because he is amazing at it. Adams, George Washington, John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, James Monroe, John Quincy Adams. So you guys can't appreciate. You want to have natures of debate that are criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions, raw and sick. How you could make games when there's a serious subject is a problem. And get me a response for the rest of the confessions and names that the principal child defender brought up. Make sure I get them on paper. I want a response. And make sure Wethersfield students, Rocky Hill students, Hartford students, these are people next to your schools. They owe you more. They're only like 300 something streets in Hartford, Connecticut. These are sick punks that have been stealing millions of dollars every year from and just that's just one hospital, but it's hospitals throughout the country. The Institute of Living on the campus of Hartford Hospital was founded in 1822 with slavery still entrenched north and south because the breaching method interpreted what our founders communicated distinctly from what they said. They assign you to use words like research and nature debate without critically pointing, leaving out the hyper evidential. For example, please follow mandated law for Connecticut into branch, Judge Napolitano. The transition from they used your Facebook page. The transition from to other social media, they have people they have the sense and the sensibilities of the online companies hostage. In other ways, other ways, that's what keeps the online companies. In other words, Facebook also has other influences over their roles with the further. New Britain Superior Court has rape threats and other natures of roles with federal evidences crimes with a principal child offender. And when he was there as roles forcing it, as people involved with extortion, torture, and slavery, identity theft, fraud, slanders, people that grew up lying about themselves and others and self-valuing that. So you have to examine how they're using words like maturity, adult. Adult is one of the words that the news has. So WTNH, WFSB, and Fox News and other Connecticut news locations have been planting evidences on and off crime scenes, even preemptively, because certain type of victim / hyper victim is remotely pounding drums. Thank you.